Today we need to clean up this fish room because it is quite a mess around me. You might not be able to see it on camera, but I'll show you guys. Take a look though. We've got the chair, the sofa, or the couch, however you may call this thing. It's not a huge one, but we got it in its place, and it's so nice now. We can sit down. I might want to put a little table right here, like a small little, what do you call it, like a side table, and maybe we can have a small little terrarium there or something, but I don't know, we can plan that for the future. I've created this mess because, remember we had the old stand right here, the two tanks. We had the 4-foot crypt jungle, and then below we had the 4-foot African cichlid tank. That rack system was here. I dismantled that rack, and we still have parts of it, like parts of the rack sitting right here. So I actually want to like cut this wood, make it nice and straight, because I want to give this to one of our family friends because she's a DIYer and she likes to DIY stuff. And this little thing right here, this little stool, which I'm currently using as a plant holder, a plant stand, is what she actually made using some of my scrap wood. So really nice of her. I'm gonna give her more wood. I've got more right over there. Can you guys see that? Like standing right next to that tank over there. And I've got more inside the house, so gotta prepare some of that to give her. This mess right here is just a bunch of stuff that I need to clear. We've got some paint here. This is the 2-part paint that I used to paint this floor. I had to repaint, well not repaint, but paint under this bench. You can't see it right now. It's like it's blending in with the previous paint, so it means I must have mixed it quite well. But here maybe you can see a bit of a line where the new paint is and the old paint is. But there are parts that weren't painted before where the stand was. So I've moved the rack. It's over here right now, and you can see we've got this nice empty spot. But there's some areas that haven't been painted yet. So you can see the previous flooring, which isn't that nice looking. So using the same gray paint, we're gonna paint it. And then we can bring this sofa over into this spot. When I first originally painted the floors, I couldn't move the racks, so that's why there are spots where the legs of the racks were that haven't been painted. And it's the same for this rack over here. So this rack system, where the 6 legs are, there's no paint there. So in the future when I dismantle this rack, I'm gonna have to repaint those areas. And I actually plan to dismantle this rack because I want to get my carpenter to build me something even better. This rack is good as it is right now, but I want it to go a little bit taller so that we can have storage up top. And I want to use a thicker piece of wood because 2x4s, it's a good wood and it works really well for building aquarium racks. But in the country that we're in, Japan, there's lots of earthquakes, and I've decided I just want to go for something more solid. And my carpenter looked at it and he said, this is good for what it is, but it's not 100% like earthquake proof, or I'm not sure, because it's not the best well made. Look at that, I can shake it and you can see all that water movement. So that's why in the future, yeah, we're gonna keep the tanks, but I want a better stand for this. It'll just give me peace of mind when I sleep at night, and when I'm away, say I'm touring, I'm going for fish store tours, I'll know that all my tanks are safe even if earthquake happens. And it's just, yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Now I'm just noticing this, but the tank that some of my rainbows I've raised are in, I planted this plant called 𝗯𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗍𝗀, and it's been growing quite well. I've just been looking. So this stem I cut off yesterday and I replanted, but then other stems that I've cut off in the past are starting to grow new shoots. So they're shooting out new leaves, and wow, it's just grown quite a lot since I added them in here. So I really want this tank to be full of that plant. We've got the crinum in the middle that's growing pretty slowly, but you can see some of the leaves here. I think this tank is just too dark. There's not much light going down. That's why some of these crypts are quite large. And that's also one reason why I don't think there's much algae in this tank compared to this tank right there. There's a lot of cyanobacteria in that tank, which isn't good, but you can see the fish are all doing pretty fine in there. But this tank, I've just got a bunch of stuff on top of it. I've got a lid, I've got like stuff blocking the light that's going through, so you can see it looks quite dark, whereas that tank, we don't have anything on top. So I do want to clean out this section too, and we've got to clean out this section, and then I want to work on some of the filters underneath this tank, especially the inline diffuser for the CO2, because I want to move one. I'll explain more later as we get into this video, but the tank that we moved last, the Crypt Jungle that's in my editing room, I want to put my CO2 on there, and I still haven't done that. The lights and CO2 on that tank haven't been turned on in the last 3 days, and the algae has died back quite a bit, which I'm happy about, but I don't want to leave the lights off any longer because I don't want the crypts to stress out too much. If you change too many things with cryptocoryns, they will melt back. And with these plants, this time I've been really lucky that most of them are doing alright. No melt whatsoever, even after that big move. So today we're going to get the CO2 back on that tank, and we're going to use an inline diffuser. Before, it was just it was this thing that's still actually here. We use this diffuser, but I want to go inline. Alright, so let's start off by cleaning some of this mess that's around me, because this is kind of getting on my nerves. It's really messy, and I've got to put things where they belong. Alright, so you've got this space nice and cleared out. I can do some work now. Don't mind this thing. This is actually for another project I'm working on. I'm planning to go camping inside my car moving forward, and I'm building, well, this is not related to aquariums, but I'm actually making, what do you call it, like window covers, so I can sleep in my car and no one can look inside. So it's basically, I've got one right here, but you know these things where you put on the front of your window to block out the sun from coming in, like the Reflectix thing or whatever, I'm not sure what it's called, but I just got this at the dollar store. It's actually $5 at the dollar store. This is a big mat, like a picnic mat, and it's made out of the same Reflectix materials like you can see inside, but I'm cutting these up to fit all my windows in my car, and then I can sleep at night and go out to more locations and do fish store tours, and that is something I'm so excited about doing. But that's off topic right now. We'll leave that for another time. Now, what I want to do is I want to change out some of these inline diffusers, because you can see this inline diffuser is white in color, and it's kind of far back in there, but you can see this one is a different brand to this one. This is a 𝗯𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝘀 internal diffuser, and I've actually got one of these running on this tank. So the tank next to it, you can see that's the 𝗯𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝘀 internal, well, inline diffuser. So I've got two of this, one over there that we just saw running on this tank, and then that one is a different brand. So I'm going to take this one off and replace it with this one so that we can have two of the same inline diffusers, because I don't know why, but I'm just that way. If I've got two tanks next to each other, I want them to have the same equipment. And then this one that's different, I'm going to bring into my room, into the Crypt Jungle. So let's go and switch these out right now, and I'll show you guys the Crypt Jungle in just a moment. So we got this side taken out. Now let's replace it with a new one. With this one, it's weird because there are different brands that make this same exact inline diffuser. One brand says this is the right way up. The other brand says that this is the right way up. And then you got people on the forums and Facebook groups complaining, like saying you got it the wrong way around. So I don't know, and I've tried both ways and it seems to work, so I don't know. You can go this way, you can go that way. I'm gonna go this way. You put the CO2 tubing in here, and it should get diffused in here with a little ceramic stone or something. But this packaging says to put it this way, and water flows upwards, so I'm really not sure. It really doesn't matter though, as long as you're getting CO2 into the tank. I think it's not a huge deal. Comes with a little locking thing. The other one doesn't have this, but I prefer that it has this because it's like a safety feature, so the tubing will never come off. You can't say never, but has a less chance of falling off. So let's get this thing further in there, then we can lock it. Alright. Perfection. Now we just monitor it and make sure that there aren't any leaks, and then we can get this guy onto the 4-foot crypt jungle. I'm a little bit stuck right now because you can see the CO2 cylinder fits underneath my stand just perfectly. In the middle, I've got this cross brace, so it doesn't fit here, but I can get it to the back or to the front because I've got this open section up top, so it does fit okay there. But the problem is once I get my regulator hooked up, it like almost doesn't fit. I could set this whole thing there, but once I get the tubing attached to this bubble counter, then the tubing will hit the top of the stand, and that's gonna be a problem because that kinks the tubing and I don't want it to get damaged like that. So I've got two options I can do moving forward. The first is to remove the plywood and put this CO2 diffuser on this section so it'll sit lower down, and maybe it'll reach about here, so I'll have more space up top to play with. But I really want this plywood because I want to cover the whole bottom moving forward. Right now, this is just temporary, but I want it to look nicer, so in the future I'm going to cut out a plywood to sit right here so that it looks just more aesthetically pleasing. I could do that and cut out a little section for my CO2 to sit on the floor. Or the second option is to just leave it like this, have it almost all the way to the top, and just use a different CO2 regulator. I do have another regulator that doesn't have this bubble counter. Oh gosh, but then I'll have to... Yeah, I'm just thinking now, if I don't have the bubble counter, I'll have to attach a separate bubble counter so I know how much CO2 is going in, but yeah, I think I might do that. I've got a smaller one of this that will fit here perfectly, but then I'd have to attach a separate bubble counter. I think we'll do that. This one right here, you can see no bubble counter. Darn it, I forgot to bring the bubble counter. So I gotta go back later, but... So it's now the next day. The tank is looking amazing. The lights turned on its own today, as well as the CO2, because I've hooked it up on a timer system. So I'll give you guys a close-up look over here. So here's the tank. We've got all the fish, the nice crinum in the middle. I want to organize the wiring and all the cables down here, make it look neat, make it out of the way. But right now you can see this is the CO2 regulator solenoid. And then we've got the bubble counter here. The bubble counter, I've attached it to the back of the stand. You can see there's this little slit right here, and that's where you'd put a suction cup so you can stick it to the side of your aquarium to watch how many bubbles per second you're adding into the tank. But I've just put a screw into the stand, and then I hook this little thing onto that screw, and it stays in place really nicely. So that's a little tip for some of you guys. You can find creative ways to display and hang your bubble counters. And then over here it goes into the inline diffuser, which then goes into the tank. So yeah, we've got CO2 in this tank now, the lights are on. And then the fish room is also doing alright. We're making progress here one step at a time. There's still a lot that needs to be done in this fish room, but slowly we're making progress, and I'm making it easier for me to organize, easier to manage. I'm really happy with how everything is going right now. You guys will see the finished product in just a while. It's taking longer than I expected, but it's fun doing things slowly and taking your time, because I don't want to rush and end up regretting something I did and have to restart again. So I'm taking my time and enjoying the process. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time.